Goddamn right.
But don't forget, this is the 21st century.
Join us in the social media world. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pornhub.
Pornhub?
Ah, just kidding. Or am I? Toxic Radio.
Get infected.
Got an idea for a podcast and think you have the talent to make it a reality? Already have a podcast, but been thinking you could take it up a notch, but you're just not sure how to do it? Well, Toxic Entertainment has everything you need to go from podcasting to podcasting. Bring us your talent, your passion, and your best ideas. We'll bring to the table our state-of-the-art technology and comfortable facility, creative and professional staff dedicated to bringing your ideas to life, competitively priced packages to suit your goals and budget, and over 10 years of experience as a leader in the podcasting field. Toxic Entertainment offers quality and affordability that can't be beat. When you're ready to start your journey, Toxic Entertainment is here to help you reach your destination. Learn more at toxicentertainment.net or call 888-66-TOXIC to arrange a studio tour. That's 888-66-86942. Toxic Entertainment, where creativity meets passion.
That time of the week to take it deep. We're back. So, lots of stuff going on. Lots to talk about. Gonna go a different direction today, but tough week for me. Not a tough week, good week, challenging week. I don't know if anybody ever knows, a lot of people out there say, hey, I have ADHD. I may have ADHD. I may have ADD. You may not. People get professionally diagnosed with it, and it's something that, if you do have it and you can just have a string of days in a row where you feel like you have gotten fucking nothing done, and it hasn't, and it's not from lack of trying, I'll tell you that. But with that being said, it's definitely, for me, I have it. It can be trying at times. I don't talk about it much because I don't make excuses for myself. But, there are people out there that don't know how to deal with it or don't take it head on. And it's just, sometimes it's like, I don't know how to explain it. It's kind of like being a Groundhog Day. Literally your whole life. It comes and goes. You forget your keys here. That piles up. You forget something small that was important. You get distracted for 5-10 minutes. You have a lot of unfinished tasks. There's things you want to do, ideas you come up with that you never complete. That is my torture, my personal torture, but I fight it all the time. All of us have our, things that we have to fight. So I'm definitely not special in that way. Plenty of people have things they have to fight that are, and their hills are way higher or way taller than I am, or steep. So my personal issue, but yeah, sometimes you just have a week and you're like, man, shit, I feel like I did a lot, but I did nothing. I don't know. You ever feel like that, Mike?
Never.
Well, I'm sorry we can't be perfect like you.
You're welcome. I was trying to message you to tell you to move the second mic away from your face. Everybody, I say this all the time. Mr. Godfrey is a professional broadcaster, taught and learned at the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
The mic wasn't even in front of my face before the show began, and I had to scramble.
I know, I seen you. And I wonder how many of our the biggest celebrity broadcasters in the world do the same exact thing.
They probably do.
A second before they go on air, scrambling around.
I could see Joe Rogan doing shit like that.
Oh yeah, at the last second, just trying to do everything.
I listen to
minute.
Sirius Radio, and that's a big time outfit, makes millions of dollars, dare I say billions.
Right.
And they will just go off air sometimes. They'll just their upload will be scrambled, their audio will be bad, and they have all the tools in the world, and they can't prevent it. It's just crazy to me.
Because the human error, bro. The human error. No amount of money, training, corporate entity will ever be able to match.
Yeah.
Well,
a lot of these guys,
human error.
Really not our local radio hosts, but some of them do. Like on WIP, a lot of these radio hosts are actually remoting in from their house.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll listen to a show, even on a 94 WIP, and it'll just drop out like that. You're like, what the fuck's going on? And then you'll hear a commercial come on. Because the producer's like, shit. Let me get commercial. And it all happens, but it's just kind of funny because when you look at that kind of stuff, you're like, all right, not a problem.
Yeah.
So,
So, like you were saying, sometimes things just don't go your way.
oh man, it's true.
It is very
damn true. But speaking of that, where the hell? Oh, there we go.
You got it?
Yeah, I got my old setup. But tons to talk about today. But that is funny though, because I've seen people go through that, and like you start to notice it more when you do broadcasting, and most people don't notice it.
Right.
So you're like, I know what happened there, and it's just funny. I've heard. I was listening to the radio, and some guys, I think I heard his equipment literally fry and then just go out.
Oh.
Like, I swear and I was like, wow. And that was on a major radio station, too. So, why would anyone listen to another radio station, Brad? That is correct. Why would anyone listen to anything but ToxicRadio.net or The Godfrey on Thursdays, 6 to 7 p.m.?
Yeah.
iTunes, Amazon Music.
Sometimes 6 till 7. Sometimes 6:10 till 7.
Well, Papa Godfrey needed a 10-minute respite today. So
we're just saying that time slot is a floating time slot.
Let's just say everybody's been there where you're working something at work, sometimes computer related. I don't know if there's an equivalent here to non-computer related, and then you do something and it just fucked up everything you just did, and you're like, "What am I doing?" Mike, I think your vibrator's on. I feel a vibration on the floor.
I did too. I just felt that.
Yeah.
Are we having an earthquake?
It's possible.
Is there an earthquake?
It's possible. But tons to talk about. We're going to talk about the Kellogg strike. What's that about? Gen Z doing some good shit concerning that. Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell, who will retire first, or will COVID retire before them? We got to bring that up, right? COVID, or, people, is it ever going to end? The Book of Boba Fett, the 29th? Maybe we'll talk about student debt. Twitter's making new rules. They want to talk about what you can talk about, which has kind of been going on, but they're going a little bit further now. And it seems like they cater to the elite. So they want to pretty much ban memes, so you can't mock people like you used to. It sounds like, what is Twitter doing? I mean, the reason why they existed, it was almost like a free forum, and now it's just going farther and farther away from that. I feel like Twitter is trying to accelerate its ticket to the graveyard of a Friendster or MySpace. Twitter is definitely trying to end its chapters, if you will, and close its own book, because I don't know what Twitter's doing, but they're not doing smart stuff. And it's just bad. So under the new rules, people who are not public figures can ask Twitter to take down pictures or video of them that they report it without permission. Okay. So what is that? What if it's a famous person you're making a meme? What if Michael Jordan gets mad about the crying meme? The crying Michael Jordan meme, that's a famous one. Does he complain and get it taken down? I did not authorize that meme. I think memes are a whole different culture, right? So does that mean if I take a picture of, say, a concert in Central Park and I need the permission of everyone in it, we diminish the sense of the public to determent of the public? Tweeted Jeff Jarvis, a journalism professor at the City University in New York. So just kind of, and the change came the day after the Twitter co-founder, Jack Dorsey, announced he was leaving the company and handed CEO duties to a company executive, Parag Agrawal. I'm probably mispronouncing his name, but whatever.
In broadcasting, you're allowed to mispronounce names. People do it all the time.
That's true. And then they don't, but they do. So
and then they don't, and they do.
Some guys are like, they practice names before they get them.
No, those guys don't just practice. Those guys, I know this is now a broadcasting show about broadcasting, but they not only practice, but they will YouTube other people pronouncing it and then practice that way before even going live.
You can YouTube a name now, or search a name on YouTube, and there's a video to tell you how to pronounce a name.
Oh, yeah.
Every name.
If you want to learn how to do anything and everything, YouTube.
Yep. That's where Mike went for sex. He was like, YouTube.
YouTube wasn't around back then.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It was literally the Spank Mags.
The Spank Mags. Oh, man. Sneaking it.
So that's what I thought.
Sneaking into
sex was.
7-Eleven, trying to pretend like it's the biker mag you're buying. Tattooed bikers or
I
something.
literally, when I was younger, thought that when you went in, that it came out the other end.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Godfrey does fear show prep. That's true. It's part of my strife. But the Kellogg strike is on. They fear 80-hour work week. And I don't blame them. So Kellogg's has been treating their workers like shit. Just a FYI out there, if you really look what's in Kellogg's cereal, you shouldn't be feeding to your kids. I hope I didn't offend anybody, but it's fucked up. That's a whole nother discussion. But they have a bunch of people on strike. There's been a lot of solidarity around it. And I hear a lot of people talk about Gen Z, but they're unionizing, backing up people, using their skills to back up people. And I'm going to give you an instance here. The Kellogg strike is pretty bad. You know, it's 1,400 workers on strike. They rejected the deal. They were, just the stuff that they were doing was ridiculous. And I'll give you a reason. So if you look at it, the issue here is about the future of the working person in America. So they're making it a bigger thing, right? Our CEO from 2020 to 2021 has taken a 29% increase. A lot of people don't talk about that. Let's talk about greed for a second, okay? Do I say the CEO doesn't deserve his pay? Not really. I'm not saying that. Does he deserve 29% of the profits of a company? And let's say he took 29% of the profits. No problem. Should his workers suffer for those profits? I think we're kind of at a metamorphosis here in our society, at least in America, where we're saying, fuck that. That's not going to happen anymore. And all this bullshit that we hear all the time and all these lies and, smoke and that people like to blow up each other's asses. So they've been taking increases and they're on the employees, they're on a two-tier wage system. 30% of employees are on a lower tier making $12 an hour or less. Higher insurance premium, less vacation, lower vacation pay. So we're all about the equalization of wages. We want to bring those 30% up to higher tier level of workers. The company's proposal was to eliminate that 30% cap and eventually get everybody on that lower tier while the company is making record profits. It's key here. So, as Dan says, 2020 is actually when the contract expired the first time. We worked under an extension of that same contract for a year up until 2021 in October. In 2019, Kellogg's Omaha did not hire any employees. They then shortened our numbers. In my business, we run a 24-hour cycle, 7 days a week, 365 days. There's a couple days where we shut down, to fumigate for bugs, things like that, but normally we're running full production all the time. So when you do not have enough employees, that has to be covered by employees who work in the form of forced overtime. Now, I've been in a union before, and when I was in the union, and I've been a manager, I got out of that union and got promoted. Communication Workers of America, CWA 1300. Now, that's the contract they bargained, right? And here's the thing. So they weren't giving them any time off when they had to do that. So they did the forced overtime. They're not fighting the forced overtime, right? So they increased their overtime. I mean, you had to earn days off with a point system. Not like, I'm not talking about earning a vacation day. I'm talking about a day, earning a day off. Like, what the fuck is this? So, not to get too much into this. So, people are pretty pissed off about it. And I'm seeing a lot of stuff going on in the labor market. And, everybody talks about, I know people have this idea out there that unions are bad. And I'm just going to tell you this. When America was stronger, Mike has that idea. But when America was strongest, 33% of the country was unionized. Now it's about 8%. The reason why that happened is when Reagan got in, he weakened the unions. Now, they're not the end-all, they're not the be-all, they're not the answer to everything. But it does give you bargaining power when you coalesce as a group. Now, Starbucks
I'm going to take myself off screen because I will go.
Well, I mean, if you're one person and you're trying to get a contract for a group of people, one person's not going to do the job.
You know what your bargaining chip is?
What's that?
Every individual out there, every person watching, every person listening, your bargaining chip is making yourself as good of an asset to a company as you possibly can. Then your bargaining chip is the fact that you will go to this company or that company or this company. That's your bargaining chip as an individual. You do not need a union to go to bat for you as a bargaining chip. Unions are bullshit. I don't believe in them.
Right.
I was in a union for 10 years. Boom, I'm out.
So I'm going to get the audience's reaction to Mike's comments.
No,
That's exactly what it is. So
no.
unions,
Because I hold people accountable.
unions don't have to be everybody across the board, but I think there needs to be a better mix, a balance, if you will. Not 8% to 92, maybe 50-50, 40-60, whatever. Starbucks workers voted for their first U.S. union. Workers from a store in Buffalo, New York voted to unionize in a watershed moment for Starbucks, which operates 8,953 stores in the United States. Now, the reason why this is interesting is I'm not on here saying I don't really know the day in and day out of a Starbucks barista, worker, etc. What I'm talking about is I do know Starbucks is widely profitable. Now, my point of bringing that up is they will spend, companies, billions of dollars to keep unions out of their workshop. Now, they say that because they say they hit you with all kinds of propaganda. It gets pretty dirty when you're trying to do an election, right? A union election. So, if people don't want it and they vote it down, fine. That's how it works, right? So, and they are important when it comes to worker safety, I agree. So, especially in certain industries. But three Buffalo areas, stores held separate union elections. Baristas and shift supervisors from one store voted to unionize 19-18, while workers from the second store rejected the unionization. See, they rejected it 12-18. The third store failed to reach a verdict and faces a legal battle. There were 15 votes cast for unionization and again 9 against. While 7 votes were challenged, most of the challenges came from the union, which argued that some workers who voted weren't regular employees at the location. Right. So the election marks one of the highest profile unions wins for the U.S. restaurant workers, which are among the least unionized in the country. Starbucks workers who voted for unionize will join Workers United affiliate with Massive Service Employee International Union. Now, here's the thing. It's not always about money. Sometimes it's about benefits. Sometimes it's about, I know in the restaurant industry, as far as how you're treated, it's very loose, very non-formal. So it could be about that kind of stuff. Sexual harassment in the workplace, abuse doesn't have to be man to woman and man to man. You know, there could be abusive speech to anyone. And it is a watershed moment. So, in fact, three more Buffalo stores and one Arizona are also trying to unionize. Starbucks has promoted its reputation as a progressive employer with generous benefits, arguing that the union is not necessary. In fact, Starbucks has fought off organizing attempts in New York City and Philadelphia. By the way, I did prep this, Brad. Fuck you. Decades earlier, in the 80s, United Food and Commercial Workers International Union, for a while, represented some Starbucks staff. That union still represents workers at some locations run by grocery stores, not directly by Starbucks. Then last year, workers at a corporate-run Starbucks store in Canada unionized, and now 3 additional locations in Buffalo area and one in Arizona are pursuing a union. I think, here's the thing. I want to pause for a second here. So, the reason why a lot of this stuff, unions just weren't chased away. A lot of factory jobs went across overseas, you know, manufacturing, things of that nature. Our economy is very service industry heavy. I mean, I'm pretty sure we all can agree on that, right? Buying shit, serving people stuff, food, you name it. Very service industry heavy. I think retail is like 70% of our economy, if I'm not mistaken. And the point of me bringing that up is a lot of these things weren't traditionally unionized. But when these become the main vehicles for people to make jobs, you know, not everybody is, you know, somebody's got to sweep the streets. Somebody's got to be the supervisor. Somebody's got to be an engineer, right? So I think what we're talking about here is people having some dignity in the way they live. And I just think people are they're just done with it. So how do you fight back? You know? And I've worked for a corporation where I've been AT&T. I think they suck ass. And I'll say that because I don't work for them anymore. Fuck you, AT&T. You know, I was a union employee. and then I was a management employee, so I got to see both sides of the fence. Same company, so knowing rules from each side of the fence, what they did for you, what they didn't do for you, right? But I tell you what, they had better benefits than me as a manager. So, and that wasn't their fault. That was because the company decided to give us the shaft. So, and that's what happens. I almost wish I was unionized. I remember, I'll never forget working for AT&T. Our CEO of our mobile division said we had the most profitable year ever, right? And the most profitable year ever. And then next, after that, our company CEO says, we're not giving out bonuses because this was around 2008, even though we just introduced the iPhone because AT&T was the first one to have it for 5 years, and we killed it. But they said, yeah, we're not going to give you guys a raise this year. And so then our CEO said, hey, I'm not taking a raise either. Like, he doesn't have millions in stock options. But that's another story for another day. My point is people are always gaslighting you. So you got to talk, whatever they say to you, you got to take with a grain of salt. Brad, Brad did bring that up too. You know where unions are most bullshit? The police. I'm going to give you an applause on that. And I think police need unions, but I think the reason why they're bullshit is because
That was Laura.
Yeah, Laura. I think didn't I say Laura?
No, you said Brad.
Sorry, Laura. It's not my day today, Laura. Give her another applause. But I do think that, yeah, I hear a lot of people bitch about the teachers union protecting bad teachers. Well, it goes both ways. I see a lot of bad cops get protected as well. So I could point to you many instances. I'm pretty sure the overwhelming majority of cops are good people and good cops.
You know when unions were good?
When's that?
Unions were good when people worked at a job for like their whole life. Like you started a job and you worked there for 30, 40, 50 years.
Some of those still
you
exist.
left with a pension. They are far and few between.
My
There's
brother works
not
at Boeing,
many.
and he's building helicopters, and he's been there for 15 years. Worked his way up.
Yeah, but they don't. So those type of places, like even when I started at L3 Communications in 2003. I was a part of the last few crew that like were working to work there for like 30 or 40 years with a pension and all that kind of stuff.
Are you still there now?
No, actually, 10 years later, I got let go, laid off. Boom, done, goodbye. And
Well, union's not going to save you from getting laid off.
you know what the union did do, though? The union started playing chess. The union members, you noticed that union officers, their wives or their kids or other, they started moving to different areas in the company, started having different titles because only certain sections were going to be laid off and certain sections were not going to be laid off. And the sad thing is my dad passed away a year before. My dad was very close with the union members. Well, my dad's no longer there. I no longer have poll. All of a sudden, I'm laid off.
Your grandfather worked at L3 for 36 years.
My dad worked there for, I think it was 26 or 30 years, yeah. And yeah, her grandfather. Like, I understand that aspect of it, but that aspect is no longer viable. We're now living in a society where it is normal for people to job hop, which means, you know that with your skill set, a company's only going to pay you the bare minimum. So you stay there for 5 years, you collect those skills, and then you hop to the next job. 5 years later, hop to the next job.
But that's not something where you can So unions aren't for the whole workforce, just like that philosophy is not for the whole workforce, right? I mean, here's the thing about that. You're going to either move on from that job and get a different skill set. You had that job temporarily. Some people work at those places their whole life. I know people that have retired at Starbucks and they give you stock sharing options. So there's things that people stay at their jobs for a while sometimes. I mean, my job before this, I was at my job for almost 9 years. My job before that, I was at it for almost 7, 8 years. That's a rarity. And the job market's very fluid. But at the same time, if they're saying, here's the thing. All I hear now is a couple things. We can't find workers. We're short-staffed. Okay. So I deal with a lot of small business owners in my position outside of here. And some of these people don't have that problem. Some do. And it really goes about how you're running your business, right? And if they want to attract people, then attract them. But one thing that I've noticed is you have to be trying to hire people with these small, these PPE loans. And there's a theory out there that people, and I'm going to look into this, that they're doing job interviews and putting posting, but they're really not hiring people. And I've seen that theory on certain jobs, and I'm talking about professional jobs, and I believe that because I see that kind of shit all the time. My job, we're looking for people. I can tell you that. But, you know, I think people are getting a little pissed off about how the work environment's shaped, right? Some people are quitting because they don't want to go back to the office. I've seen that. Some people don't want to do a hybrid model. Some people don't want to go back at all. So they're making their choice and lying in it too. And you know what? Good. It's a free country. They can do that. But, you know, there's things that have changed with the workforce, that have changed with the American family. And a lot of these companies don't want to change because all they're looking at is the profit, the bottom line. And there are companies out there doing it differently because they see the walls closing in on them. But at the same time, you know, there's going to be certain areas of the country where there aren't many options for jobs. Walmart might be your only option. Okay? So the worker relationship with the employer should be a partnership, but it's not. And that's the problem. And that's unique to our country. Travel outside of the country and go to other developed democracies and look at the labor laws, and you'll be shocked. And you tell them, and I've had this opportunity, what it is versus here versus there. And they have questions for me because they can't believe that some of the stuff is allowed. But so this is what I want to talk about, though, and this is what I find really interesting. We kind of went off on a tangent there. The TikTokers and Gen Zers wanted to mess with Kellogg because Kellogg said, you know what, we're not going to meet your demands at all. Their demands aren't unreasonable, by the way, so I'm not even going to go through them. But we don't want to meet your demands, so we're going to. They told them we're going to replace you and hire new workers. Fair enough. So the TikToker wrote code to flood Kellogg with bogus job applications after the company announced it would permanently replace striking workers, which can happen. I know of casinos that were on strike for 7-8 years, and this kid wrote code, and it severely fucked them up. So the prolonged work stoppage has left us no choice but to continue executing the next phase of our contingency plan, including hiring replacement employees in positions vacated by striking workers. The company advertised for the permanent replacements at 4 production sites: Omaha, Nebraska; Battle Creek, Michigan; Lancaster, Pennsylvania; and Memphis, Tennessee. The advertisement directly cited the dispute. The unions representing Kellogg employees in these plants are on strike, and we are looking for employees to permanently replace them, joining hundreds of Kellogg salaried employees, hourly employees, and contractors to keep the lines running. Earlier job advertisements for temporary workers encourage applicants to cross the picket line to join the company. People on the popular subreddit anti-work took up the workers' cause on Thursday. A user with the handle Bloomin' Funyuns posted links to 4 job applications that encouraged the subreddit's 1.3 million strong membership to individually submit fake applications. I hope they had fun with it and like submitted names like Dick in your cornflakes, things of that nature. I'm gonna put my banana in your tricks. Is that a Kellogg's cereal? I don't know. Bananas aren't just for kids, silly rabbit. I don't know.
What the fuck?
Yeah, they should have just. I hope they have fun with it, but you know, the Kellogg spokesperson said that their company's online hiring process was fully operational and that there had been strong interest in roles at all 4 sites. New hires were thought to expect to start very soon, but they clogged their toilet. Kellogg didn't even hide the fact that they're hiring scabs. They don't even care. So what happened was this guy came up with some code, and he was demonstrating the code, and it automatically creates an account, fills in personal details, and uploads a resume on the company's site. Not bad for a workday, he said. So this kind of stuff is kind of cool, the coding. I remember I was having trouble getting through to the PA unemployment, and someone out there, I found in the Philadelphia Inquirer, wrote coding for it to keep inquiring for the chat, and then when it would get someone available, it will let you know, and you didn't have to stay on there all the time going crazy. So what a cool idea, and what a good job by Gen Z and the TikTokers out there to show some solidarity, because this kind of shit's got to stop. You know, the inflation, all the stuff that's going on, COVID, I know that there's been record profits by people that are CEOs. All you have to do to listen to this, if you don't believe me, open up a Robinhood account or you can listen to earnings calls for these CEOs. The president, the White House actually talked about these companies that are gouging. They're saying inflation. Do not be gaslit. And the old wise tale they say is it's because we're printing money. Let me tell you something. We print about $800 billion a year for military. We're not supposed to make money off that, but we do, right? So don't believe that old Reaganomics bullshit wise tale, okay? Trickle down economics theory bullshit. Because let me tell you something. They don't account that in. Then you have the Pentagon, where they haven't even been able to pass an audit for years. So the 780 is what's on the books. I guarantee you they're well into $1 trillion every year that they're spending on defense. I bet my nuts on it. And
nuts?
My nuts, both of them.
I got that on record.
Yeah. And here's the thing about that. You know, the inflation is artificial to a point. You look at lumber. The price of lumber has gone down because people weren't doing as much home improvements as the pandemic led up. You know, the gas has come down because Biden released some barrels, but it's the greed and the lack of empathy and not caring for your fellow human being is the problem, right? Like, how much money do you need? You're a sick fuck if you're like, oh, I need another $1 billion. I have 40 in my bank, and that extra $1 billion comes at the cost to other people. And you know, I don't feel sorry for people like that. I hope he trips down the stairs and breaks his teeth and it goes through his eyeballs and he dies. People that have that thought pattern and do shit like that, because there are people out there like that. Like, how about the guy that went online and laid off all his workers on Better.com online and live streamed it?
That was classic.
Yeah, I mean, he's getting let go.
What was it? That whole thing is just ridiculous because you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, but you do it in a better way. Did you watch it?
There is no. I watched it. I didn't think it was that bad, but there is no.
Wait. So he tells people and said, by the way, if you're on this call, that means you're one of the ones that were fired.
How else are you going to tell them?
I think it was in bad taste.
I'm not
saying he shouldn't have did it for whatever reason they needed to do it for.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that it was in bad taste. Take it from a guy that's in the corporate world right now. That's not very nice of them. But listen, he's getting let go. Why is he getting let go? The board voted him off, right?
Like Survivor?
Yeah, well, he's a publicly traded company. You can get voted out by the board when you're CEO, right?
It's one of those things. There's no good way, right way to do that. And I saw so many people trying to give their.
He's to take time off. He's taking time off.
There were so many people I saw that were trying to give their 2 cents as to the proper way to handle it, and I'm like, there's no proper way to handle it. It sucks.
Yeah, I hear you on that. He doesn't have a very good reputation. That's probably why it wasn't received well.
That might be okay. He did. He looked like a douche. I'll give him that.
Yeah,
but the method and the way, like, again, it's a shitty situation.
Well, when you're not known for treating people well, then it becomes, oh, that's par for the course, right?
Right.
But listen, sucks for him.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at everything that's going on, you know, Gen Z, I'm kind of proud of them. You know, stepping up to the plate like that. I think they should do it more. Show some solidarity. Make them weak at their knees. You know, you're seeing a rise in union membership, believe it or not, amongst young people. That was shocking to me. I didn't believe that when I saw it. And I'm going to read about it, but I mean, I can't see people saying like Gen Z's unionizing. Why are they unionizing? I mean, that blows my mind. So it says, here's why Gen Z is unionizing. This article is not that far. Even among the generally youthful demographic, Starbucks workers unionized in Buffalo. New York's 17-year-old Maya Panzones is younger than most. Good for her. Getting a union job at 17. I like it. So, in short, stint as a member of the labor market, a high schooler senior says she lost economic stability. Panzones was laid off from her job as a hostess due to the pandemic. It was just a really terrible time. The structure of my life was falling apart in front of my eyes, and I couldn't do anything about it. She joined Starbucks mid-July, a month before her franchise announced its union campaign, and soon realized that even as a part-time employee, working conditions could improve. So you just have customers straight up verbally abusing you, and you know I've seen that a lot too. Here's the thing. This is gonna tie into what I'm going to start talking about in a second. I think people overall are stressed out at their wits' end. Doesn't make it right. And I do see people in retail get abused all the time. You know, when I worked in retail, that shit wouldn't fly. If someone tried to, my workers, I'd be like, you're going to get the fuck. I've called security on people. I've had them removed.
That's one of the biggest reasons why after like 2000, I decided never to work in any kind of retail or service industry.
Yeah, so they said 77% of young adults support unions, according to a September Gallup poll. That's high. I'm surprised. So guess what? It's on the rise, folks. It's on the rise. Get on board. Sorry, McDonald's. You just can't be stuffing chicken nuggets up people's ass anymore.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Literally, not literally, but
oh,
you know.
I thought you had a story. I thought you were gonna be like, and now that's a great segue into this.
Yeah. Well, speaking about stuffing up people's ass, we're interviewing Nancy Pelosi, and you know it was interesting. Twitter, I believe it was Twitter, and if I'm not sure if it's TikTok, took down the Nancy Pelosi stock tracker. I don't know if you heard about that or not.
Nancy Pelosi stock tracker.
Well, she is like a really good investor. She has this really great knowledge of the stock market. I don't know where she got it from, and she is not the only one. This is something that touches both parties and other members, but she's a ranking member, so she's going to get the most publicity for it and some of it, and people have been asking her for years. And they asked her, Nancy, do you think that while you're serving in Congress and your spouse is serving in Congress, should you not be, or any other members of Congress, not invest in the stock market? And she goes, well, no, I think they should be able to. That's the free market. And I laughed because, you know, it's a free market technically, but you can have insider info when you know laws that could affect stocks. And when you help write them, you have lobbyists in your office. It is definitely insider trading. I'm talking to the tune of billions. And then Twitter, I believe it was Twitter. I got to look it up. I know it was taken down by a social media site, Nancy Pelosi stock tracker. And she's not the only one, but she's pretty goddamn good at it. So, you know, is she going to retire ever? Or is COVID going to retire? Who will retire first? I hope COVID. I think it will be COVID. I think Nancy's got a good 10 years left in her. And COVID, man, I think it is running its course on people's nerves. It has been for a while, but, you know, we're coming into the winter months and things could get rough. I don't think it's going to be as bad as it was in the past. I think there's a lot of hysteria out there. I think people are scared. I think, you know, people are making, you know, the restaurants in Philly are saying you need to have a vaccine card. Or they say the city, but I think the restaurants are involved because there's bars I went to living in Philly that wanted you to have your vaccine card before the city said do it. I think the restaurants don't want to be the middle person and rather say the city enforced it, in my opinion. But could be wrong. I know people that are bartenders that they don't know who you are and they don't want to deal with that. So
of course they don't want to. And I've seen it start ramping up. My mother is a huge, which again she has immune, issues,
immunocompromised.
Yeah, and understandably so for anybody in that situation, especially that have gone this long and not gotten it. They're on, high alert. But for those of us, you've got the people that were extreme one way, which was extreme, do everything, quarantine everybody. Extreme the other way, the anti-maskers, and you had the people in the middle that, did what was required and did what needed to be done and were serious about it and waiting for all the news to come out. And now that we've learned so much and are so much more educated, I just think that going any further with this, any more lockdowns that they say aren't going to happen, or any more restrictions, I should say, more so than just show your vaccine card is going to be problematic.
Well, I don't know what else you could do besides say show your vaccine card.
That's what I'm saying. As long as that's where we stay at, that's perfectly fine, because then the individuals that are hardcore, of course, have gotten their booster, and they're sitting there ready for the next booster. The individuals that got their vaccine and followed protocol have gotten their vaccine, and either they have gotten their booster or haven't, but they've got their vaccine card, and then you're going to have the assholes still.
I think it would be smart if I could have a magic wand and say what to do. I would say, listen, here's the deal. You get your vaccine, you don't have to wear a mask. Boom. Incentivize. I'm serious. Incentivize people to do it, right? I mean, you could go the other way and try to force them to do it, but I think that's going to have a counterintuitive result.
But there's not going to be, so that's not a good enough incentive, because even at my day job, like, that was an incentive. Like, nobody wanted to wear the mask anymore at work because we're there for 8, 9, 10 hours a day, and finally the corporation said, go ahead and get your vaccine. You don't have to wear a mask. Yet to this day, there's about 10 to 15 people, at least in my department, that still wear masks.
Well, voluntarily.
Well, voluntarily, but I'm saying it's not an incentive for them. I even said to one of them, who I'm very cool with, like, we goof around about it. I said to him, I said, "What's your end game?" I said, "You just gonna wear a mask from now on?" He goes, "Yeah, if I have to," and that's the bottom line.
Is he vaccinated?
That's what I'm saying. He isn't.
So, I mean, I think if you went at the approach of education and talk to people about it more than trying to paint them in a corner where they have to do it, I think you would get more adoption of the vaccine.
No, because with this guy, I also would go to the CDC website. I'd go to the sites that are telling you the facts, and he would go, "Well, how'd they get that information?" I said, "They did studies." "Well, I want to see the studies." What? Okay, here's their information. "Oh, I don't know if that's true."
You're right. Fuck it, mandate it.
Who gave them that information? Like, it's because nobody wants to admit that what they've been doing and what they're fighting for is a silly fight, and they
don't want to admit they're wrong. Right. That's a problem. That's a problem in a lot of areas of the country, or society in general. Right.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to admit I'm wrong. Healthcare is a whole different thing. I mean, I read about a doctor that was a surgeon in Doylestown that got fired for not wanting a vaccine.
That's one thing, though. Do you think within the next 5 years we will be able to go into doctors' offices and hospitals without wearing a mask? Because that's a totally different ballgame. Like, you cannot enter without wearing a mask.
I don't know. It depends. I mean, I think that I forget. I believe it was a lady that used to be at the CDC. It was a health official I was listening to today, and she said, we have to eventually let masks go. Maybe not right now, but in the near future. Are we ending the what do they call it? The endemic? The endemic? Are we right? And yeah, Tom, people are extremely wrong on both sides. I agree with you. And to me, it's a matter of convenience. It's a matter of preference, but at the same time, everybody's inconvenienced, right? And sometimes you got to be inconvenienced. So if you don't want to get the vaccine and you have to wear the mask, that's the compromise, right, in my opinion. And sometimes people want to even fight that. And I really think when people take issues like that and turn it into a hill, it's energized by other issues going on in their life, and they're lashing out through that. I just see it all the time. I mean, when I see people flip out in the store, I'm like, it can't be over this. It can't be, right? Are they that crazy, or are they just that fucked up? And Tom's right. There is no middle ground whatsoever, and there is a little middle ground. Because, listen, there's mistakes. Like, listen, I'm not getting a booster right away, and I'm not an anti-vaxxer by far, but I'm not getting it right away because based off what my doctor said, based off of my age, based off of I don't think I need it for a couple more months if I decide to get it or not get it. And when I looked at the data, even from the CDC, they didn't see it, said you needed it right away either, based off what they said. Now, what the CDC also says is, and this brings me back to Twitter, is that they were saying that you could possibly still spread COVID if you have the vaccine, but they're not saying don't get the vaccine. They're not saying it's impossible. But Twitter, if you say that, they'll try to ban you forever.
Social media. So my dealings with social media right now in terms of seeing where they've gone through this whole thing and watching, I forget what that documentary was called about Facebook and social media, but it was really fucking good. Goddamn, I wish I remember the name. I'm going to look it up now.
It's I
saw
it
was
too.
really good. That's why I want to look it up, because that documentary opened my eyes to some stuff. Like, it's stuff that I think I already knew. The Social Dilemma.
That's it. Yeah, I saw that.
The Social Dilemma. So if you haven't had a chance to watch that, really, really good. It's made in 2020. But I'm definitely paying attention a lot more. And social media has such a hard job because it's supposed to be a platform for you to, interact with others, to interact with your friends, to follow celebrities, and have a voice to speak your mind. But they realize very quickly that some people's minds shouldn't be shared.
So here's what CDC says. Early evidence suggests that infections in fully vaccinated persons caused by Delta variant of SARS-CoV-2 may be transmissible to others. It's from CDC. However, SARS-CoV-2 transmission between unvaccinated persons is the primary cause of spread. So what they're saying is the percentages of it spreading is much higher when you're unvaccinated. It is not 100% foolproof, and it never is. So that is where people take, one person will take one side of that opinion and just pick out half of the paragraph, and the person will pick out the other half of the paragraph.
But here's what people need to do. Don't research COVID and how that. Research how viruses and vaccines work. Like, go beyond the idea of COVID. Just how does a vaccine work? And this is what I did.
I went to a year community college. I know about this.
But this is what I did. I went and looked up how vaccines work. Not and articles that were published before COVID, because vaccines work in terms of getting your immune system set and ready for if you do get it. Now, the possibility of spreading it between one vaccinated person and another vaccinated person is extremely lowered, because what the vaccine does is as soon as that virus enters your body, it's on red alert to combat it, which drops your likelihood of developing the symptoms or any kind of effects that are going to put you in the hospital. This is why it is so pertinent to get it, because then you're not coughing, you're not sneezing, you're not spreading those germs, which then lowers the transmit rate. So yes, if you are vaccinated, you can absolutely get the virus, but you're going to be able to battle it. You're going to be well equipped to battle that virus.
Here's the thing. I'm going to give you an economics lesson real quick because we're wrapping up at 4 minutes. So this is how I know the vaccines work. Because of the worth of the technology and what people will pay for it in other countries and the patents they have on it and the trillions of dollars they're going to make. What people fail to realize is there's a lot of people in our country that say, yay, capitalism, and I'm not against it. But what you don't realize is that's part of capitalism. Making money off of something that's needed, and you're capitalizing on it, i.e. vaccines and boosters. Now, does it mean that vaccine and booster is not correct or is a false booster? You might not like the way that they're making money off of it, and I disagree with it morally a lot of times, and I do feel personally they push the boosters out a little bit quicker than usual so they can end the fiscal year stronger, because when you hear interviews with the Moderna and Pfizer CEOs, they're incentivized to get these boosters out, right? Doesn't mean the booster or the vaccine's fake, but do realize that is part of capitalism. They are capitalizing on a situation, and they're making money off of it. That's our economy. That's how it works. And that's the crux of the matter when it comes to our society. No one's saying capitalism is bad, but crony capitalism is. And the companies that make the money are the ones that corner the fucking market on what they make. That's how you make the money. Now, Pfizer and Moderna and Johnson & Johnson have patents, and if everybody really wanted these COVID issues to go away worldwide, okay, they would loosen the patent restrictions. They won't loosen the patent restrictions for other countries to make their own version of it for the RMR technology, whatever it is. I'm saying it wrong. What is it called, Mike? The mRNA technology.
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's technology they've been working on for a while, but they won't loosen those patents. And that makes me know it's real. Because if it wasn't real, they would be worthless because other countries wouldn't want them. The value would go down. And it's up. We have the best ones here because they work.
There you go.
Now, that's the way capitalism works. That's how I know it's real. Because if it was fucking paper, the other countries would know. They're smart enough to know that. And Brad brought up a point about if it wasn't political and it wasn't made political, it wouldn't have been a big deal. And I absolutely agree with you. I absolutely agree. I know plenty of Republicans that have gotten a vaccine. I know plenty of Democrats that have. I know plenty of independents that have gotten it. And I think that the stat is 59% of Republicans and like 82% of Democrats are vaccinated, something like that. Last check. I don't know how they got that fucking number, but no one would really have a problem with it. You're right, Brad, because that's the problem. You have these politicians and these leaders gaslighting people for donations, getting people upset about something. And I have a point of reference from this. I've been in Canada 3 times in the past 4 months, okay? And I've gone across the land border, had to get a test every time I went across, right? I've had COVID, and the temperament of people is different. Much smaller country than us, different country in Canada, how they operates differently. But when you talk to most people there, some people have a problem with it. But even when they do, it's not as polarized as us, right? It's like we're A++ polarization on it. And, whether it's you got to get it, mandate everyone, or it's fake, both sides. And when you talk to people up there, they'll say it's not a matter of principles, it's a matter of health. And that's their attitude. Not a matter of principles, a matter of health, right? I'm not a doctor, and I have to make a decision. Do I trust my doctor? Is my doctor trustworthy in general? And I feel that way about my doctor. Hopefully you guys do too. But when Mike talks about that guy at work that he was dealing with, I mean, if you're just going to ask a question, well, how do I know that, plants come from Earth? Okay, well, you got to sit and watch there and watch it grow? Maybe you can watch a time-lapse video. Do you need to see a YouTube video? How do you need to be convinced? If your stance is, I don't want it for reason A, well, seek out reason A. But just keep in mind, Google isn't always the best weapon because Google's going to find what you ask it for most of the time. But to me, I don't think forcing people to get it is the ultimate solution. I think you got to educate, and hopefully that does more and incentivize people to get it. I know they've done that to an extent, but, the reason why that won't work here is because it just furthers the divide. It's like, oh, you're trying to infringe on my rights. And there's so many other things that are done to us where our rights are infringed on that we don't even fucking sneeze at and just walk by and just don't give a shit about it. But when someone says mask or COVID, they're like, I'm fighting, let's go. You know what I mean? I'm so over it. I'm over it. Like, I'm over wearing the mask. I'm over debating about the mask. I'm just over it. You know what I mean? But at the same time, you got to deal with reality. You know what I mean? And that's just what it is. So I hope that it becomes the endemic soon. But anyway, that's all I got for you today, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. We will be back next week. If you're lucky, we'll start on time at 6 p.m. Thursday. I will be on tomorrow night at 7 p.m. doing the Birds Deep podcast, Eagles only. Even if you're not an Eagles fan like Brad, you're more than welcome to listen. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Sharing is caring. Give the page a like. Share it with someone. Taking it deep with the Godfrey. You can listen on Amazon Music, iTunes. What's the other one? Amazon. I said that. Google Podcast. You name it. Just Google it. You'll find it. You can go to toxicradio.net, download the app on iTunes or the Google Play Store, and you could get all you need. So that's it, folks. Thanks for listening in. Your time's greatly appreciated. And this is the Godfrey, not saying goodbye. Just saying, take it deep.